friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary and this is Happily Ever Esh, and today I am sharing with you all the books that I received for Christmas. I hope that you all had a really good holiday season and were able to spend some good time with friends and family. At the end of this video I am going to put some clips in just from my time with my family. I just wanted to share a little piece of my holidays and my Christmas. It was beautiful and relaxing, and we got to hang out and play lots of games with people that we loved and just enjoy really good food. And yeah, it was absolutely lovely. So if you're interested in that, kind of the favorite parts of my holiday, you can see those at the end. But let's just get into the books. That's what we're here for. So the first book I received is Mary Barton by Miss Elizabeth Gaskell. I read North and South in 2017 and absolutely adored it. All of Gaskell's works had made it onto my wish list, and so this was one that my mom picked out for me. This matches my edition of North and South I have, but this one is much floppier. I felt like my copy of North and South was pretty stiff, so I don't know if they've changed how they bind their books, or I just got a stiff copy, but I love that this one is so floppy, and it's one of the vintage spread spine editions, which I love. But Mary Barton was Elizabeth Gaskell's first published work. Mary Barton follows the title leading lady Mary, who is the daughter of a poorer mill worker who is kind of longing for a better life and to not be kind of stuck in the rut of poverty that her family has been. And she becomes kind of in a relationship with the mill owner's son. And in doing this, she kind of jilts a really great friend that she's had since childhood named Jem. But all of a sudden, the mill owner's son turns up killed, and everyone's kind of looking at Jem because they believe he's the one who did it. So it sounds like it's kind of a mystery. It also sounds like it plays with class, which I think Elizabeth Gaskell does really, really well, and so I'm very excited to read more. Next, I received The Morning They Came for Us, Dispatches from Syria, and this is by Janine DiGiovanni. This is a narrative of the conflict that is happening and has happened in Syria, but this, I think, gives voice to like the ordinary people, just kind of citizens in this country, really take a role in creating the narrative for this story. This also has a really great timeline in the back that goes over kind of the history of the events and the conflict from the very beginnings to present day. So I'm really excited to read more about this, to hear from more people who have experienced this extremely terrible and sad conflict, and just to that was my kitty. And just to get more kind of knowledge about what's going on. You know, we obviously, it's a huge humanitarian tragedy, but I want to hear from the voices who are experiencing this, and then also I think that that timeline is going to really be a great tool in learning more about the conflict and just to kind of understand the dynamics of what's going on. Next, I received The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden, and this sounds lovely and so perfect for the colder months. It has been quite chilly, to say the least, here in the Midwest. So I'm really itching to read this one because it is set in cold, dark winter in Russia. This looks a lot at fairy tale, and I believe we follow our main character who lives in a small village and has been very wrapped up in myth and fairy tale of her land until her father marries a new, very devout woman who kind of shuns the tales and the legends of old, and in doing this kind of potentially angers the spirits and the demons and stops the protection that the reverence to these legends and stories has had over this village. And I think the main character might have some hidden powers and is just maybe gonna have to pull them out to save her village and her land. So we'll see. That's my knowledge from reading the back of the book. But like I said, this has very high reviews from a lot of readers that I really trust here on BookTube, and it just sounds perfect for this very cold weather we've been having. As you can see, got my blanket scarf because I am so freezing. This room is very cold. But Next, we have Nine Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. I recently hauled a Mary Stewart, I think Madam Will You Talk, and then this one showed up under the Christmas tree for me as well. I think this is Mary Stewart's kind of most popular romantic mystery. She's been compared to Daphne du Maurier, kind of the queen of that suspenseful romance. Just sounds very atmospheric. I don't know a lot about it, but I don't really want to know a lot about it, but I've heard very good things, and I know Kate Howe has read this and really enjoyed it, and some other booktubers that I love and really trust their opinions have read it and enjoyed it, so I'm excited to do so as well. Another modern classic I received is The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford. The Pursuit of Love is kind of comedy, very satirical. It's looking at the lives of very privileged and wealthy in England, I think in the turn of the 19th century. This is said to be very autobiographical of Nancy's life with her family, and it just seems to have very larger than life characters. I've heard really good things about this, and it is a somewhat of a series, so if I enjoy this one, there'll be more books to pick up from Miss Mitford, but she is a very kind of well-known modern classic author, and so I'm excited to have her on my shelf. I think this is the kind of book that you really need to be in a particular mood for, but when that mood strikes, I will have this guy to pick up. Next, we have City Upstairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. I haven't heard a lot about this, and I think I was just perusing Goodreads and kind of recommended fantasy from things that I've said I've liked or books that were already on my to-be-read shelf, and this one popped up and it sounded very interesting. Kind of sounds dystopian, fantastical. There's also kind of an espionage spy story stuck in this, and I did want to read this little sentence on the back because it definitely convinced me to pick the story up, and that is a tale of vast conspiracies, dead gods, and buried histories. City Upstairs is at once a gripping spy novel and a stunningly original work of fantasy. So that just sounds fantastic. This is a part of a series, so if I enjoy this one, I'll have more to look into. It has really high ratings on Goodreads, so yeah, and I think this cover, like, I'm intrigued. This city, this guy, like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the ride. Another modern classic that I picked up is One Fine Day by Molly Panter Downs. And this was another one that I think was recommended to me on Goodreads just from what I had been reading and things that I had put on my shelf. I don't know a lot about this, but I heard that it's very underrated, and just a very good piece of modern classic literature. I've been wanting to get more into modern classic authors who are women, and especially this book was published in 1946, so I really want to be pursuing literature written by women in that time period, just because I think it was still a rarity for women to be writing and getting recognition for their writing, and I think that that shows in what we know to be modern classics today. So anyway, I will read you the back of this. It says, in the summer of 1946, the English village of Welding is no longer troubled by distant sirens, yet the ghosts of barbed wire wrestling in the fields are a reminder that some quality of life has evaporated. Together, again after years of separation, Laura and Stephen Marshall and their daughter Victoria set about coping with an altered landscape. Their rambling garden refused to be tamed, the house seemed to crumble before their very eyes, but Laura, bohemian, wistful, is undaunted by all that they have lost. So this is really looking after World War II, kind of what the war has done to the English middle class, and yeah, like I said, don't think we get a lot of perspective from women writing in that time period after the war, and so it's not very long. It's said to be very powerful and, again, very underrated, so I'm excited to try this out. It sounds lovely. Another classic that I was gifted is The Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, and this is the original binding that was published by Walt Whitman in 1855. This is just a classic work of poetry. I don't read a lot of poetry, but I was reading Upstream by Mary Oliver, and she is a naturalist and writes a lot about nature, and I found her writing to be very beautiful, and she loves Walt Whitman. And so I wanted to try him, so I put this on my list. I got him. I mean, doesn't he just look so jolly? And This is very classic, very influential in transcendentalism. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but just the writing of nature and kind of the reverence of nature. And so yeah, I'm excited to try it out. It's very slim, and I don't want to be scared of poetry, so hopefully I'll read some poetry in 2018, and this will hopefully be the collection I pick up since it's on my shelf. Another Gaskell I got from my Nana is Wives and Daughters. This is a chunk of a book, and this was the last novel that Elizabeth Gaskell ever wrote, and she actually didn't get to complete it. I think there's, the story is rounded and definitely has an ending, but not like a complete satisfying ending. I think that maybe a couple chapters she didn't get to write. But yeah, I want to read this. I've heard really great things. It is her last novel, so you know, she's had a lot of time to kind of perfect her craft by the time that she's written this book. And yeah, it sounds lovely. And this is a wonderful floppy edition as well, which I think is just about necessary for a book over 600 pages. I'm so excited to read this. It is a goal of mine in my lifetime to read all of Gaskell's work. And so I have another one to add to my collection. And then last but certainly not least of the books I was gifted for Christmas is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is a work of fantasy. I don't know, some people classify Laini Taylor as YA, some people classify her as adult. So I think she's kind of on that line where both types of readers can enjoy her work. I do have her Daughter of Smoke and Bones, at least the first one on my shelves, and I need to get to that one. But I've just heard such great things about this that I couldn't help it, and it's beautiful. It's so pretty. This is a very popular first line of the book, and I will read it to you, and just in case you haven't heard it, and that's, "On the second Sabbath of 12th moon in the city of Weep, a girl fell from the sky. Her skin was blue, her blood was red." I don't know. It sounds lovely though, and I'm excited to get to it, but I do think I'm going to read her other trilogy first, or at least start it before I start this one. But yeah, I'm trying to read books from my shelf in 2018, so hopefully I'll maybe get to both of them. And then 3 books that I picked up at Half Price Books, because I went the other day. See, this is why I have to be on bands, because I have no self-control when I'm not. But it was another one of my trips to St. Louis, and I bought 3 more books because, you know, Half Price Books, like, such great deals. I couldn't help it. And the first of those being Commonwealth by Ann Patchett. This is a very well-loved new release by Ann Patchett, and considered potentially one of her best works. It kind of seems like a family saga. It follows multiple generations and how one choice has affected and the lines of these people's families. It sounds great, and I love, some people hate these like matte papery copies of books, but I really like them, and I think it fits well with the oranges. At least I think those are oranges in the leaves, and yeah, I think it's a really pretty book. And yeah, I'm excited to pick this one up. Another book that I picked up, and I couldn't believe it, I only paid $7 or $8 for this book, and it's this beautiful hardback copy of the book of, the Book of Strange New Things by Michelle Faber. I love the cover with the hands and the stars, this pink, and then it's got these beautiful gold pages. I think it's absolutely lovely. And I mean, this book retails for almost $30, and I picked it up for $7 or $8, and it's pretty much in new condition. So I was stoked about that, and I've heard really great things about this. This looks at a missionary who has gone to share the Bible and Christianity with another planet, and I think it's really looking at his ties and his loyalties and what it's like to miss things and long for things even when you feel like you're following your calling. It sounds beautiful, and like I said, I've heard really great things, and I'm really interested to hear Michelle Faber's perspective on this topic. So he writes very popular and books with a lot of vastness and scope to them. Another one of his really popular ones is the Crimson Petal and the White, which I also have on my shelf. I don't know why I do this, you know, but I couldn't help it. So I'm excited and hope to get to this one in 2018 as well. I mean, I have high hopes to get to all of these, but we'll see. And then last but certainly not least, I bought The Daughter of the Forest, and this is by Juliette Marillier. Marillier? Yeah. I've not read any Juliette Marillier, but she's a very popular, I think she writes both YA and adult fantasy, and this sounds lovely. It's about a girl and her 6 older brothers who she loves dearly, but some sort of plague or curse is placed on them, and she's the one who has to go and try to get this curse lifted and save her family. But of course there's many a complication, and I think there are 7 books in this series, but I am in love with this copy. I paid a couple bucks for it, and it's beautiful and big and full-oppy, and yeah, I'm really excited to pick this one up. So those are all the books that I received for Christmas, and I guess a little Christmas present to myself as well. I'd love to know, did you receive any beautiful books for Christmas? Did you get to spend some lovely time with your family? Please chat about it with me in the comments below. I would love to know, and I hope you enjoy seeing little bits of my holiday this year. I will talk to you guys very soon, and I'm wishing you a very happy 2018. Bye. Yeah.
For that one, you get because you're on that road. Or anywhere.
Oh, they got to be anywhere, or they got to be in a connected
consecutive order. You get what's called the longest road, and that's 2 victory points. So no one can take that to you unless they get a road that's longer than yours. Okay. And you can take advantage. Someone would have to get 4 to take this away from you, and then you would have to get 5 to take it away from them.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I mean,